My name is Jeff, and my wife Andrea and we bought a Buccaneer Jefferson Model in, we ordered it in June 2022. It arrived on site August 1st of 2022, and we officially moved in the middle of September 2022. And I did a video when we first moved in of everything because I did not see a whole lot of videos on the Jefferson model for Buccaneer, and so I just wanted to do a video, and evidently a lot of people liked the video, and some people have been asking me to do a follow-up video because it's been almost 3 years now, and what our thoughts of the house. So before I get into that real quick, I just wanted to give a little backstory. My wife and I, we live in Horry County, South Carolina. Horry County is the same county that Myrtle Beach is located in. So we're in upper east part of South Carolina. And we've lived in Horry County since 2001. And we used to live in Murrells Inlet. Murrells Inlet is located about 15 miles south of Myrtle Beach. And we sold our house in 2001. That was a tract-built house that was built by Ryland Homes. And then we moved into apartment, and then in April of 2022, we bought 9 acres out here, which is still in Horry County, but we're about an hour away from where we used to live. And originally what we wanted to do is we wanted to build a house, and then we were going to stay in the apartment that we were staying in, build a house, and then move out here. But at that time was about the peak of the COVID, I'll just call it insanity as far as prices were concerned, at least in construction. And so we had designed a house that was not too much larger than this, because the Jefferson model is about 1,500 square feet, and it was going to be like $400,000, because the pre-COVID price of like a 2x4 was like $2. And then at that time, a regular 2x4 was upwards of $7 to $8. So just imagine the cost of that on everything it would be for a house, and the houses were just ridiculously expensive. So my wife said, well, what about a manufactured home? And we're like, okay. And so we found a manufactured home company that specializes more in a rural type setting, where they could do the septic, they had a contractor to do the well, and they're more geared towards a rural setting than they would be like in a neighborhood type setting. So anyway, that's where we ended up, and that's how we got here. This was the first manufactured home we ever had, and we've had a lot of experience with just regular houses. So I'll try in the video to do the differences, try to do what we like about the house, what we don't like about the house, etc. If you want to do a TLDR, for the most part, I'm happy with the house. There's some minor things that I don't like about it, but I would say the positives greatly outweigh the negatives. So I'm going to flip the camera around, and then we'll start going through the house. Okay, so being where we are, we do not have water, we do not have sewer out here. The only utilities we had was electrical and internet. And ironically, even though we're out in the middle of nowhere with very low population, we have very high-speed fiber internet out here. So I'm not complaining, but it's a lot faster than anywhere else we've lived at in Myrtle Beach area. So the house itself, which included the setup, which included the drive here, which is a little worse for wear because I'm constantly battling weeds. It included the well, not the well house. We built that after we moved in. And it included the septic tank in the drain field. And we wanted the drain field to be large enough for my mother-in-law's house, which we moved in about 4 months after we moved in. And so we only have one drain field for both of those, and it was designed that way. So all of that at that time cost about, it was a little less than $200,000. And so it is June of 2025 now. This was in September of 2022. And so I don't know how the costs would be now versus then on doing something like this, but that's what it cost back then. The process was different than buying a regular house. With a regular house, or at least the track built ones that we had, you would go in there, you could pick your cabinets, you could pick your flooring and that type of stuff. You could do that here, but the difference is everything that was different than the base price of the house, when we would go look at houses, they would have a cost. It's like, okay, if you want the upgraded cabinet package, it would cost X much. If you want the upgraded carpet, it would cost X much. Well, they didn't do that here. It was, tell us what you want and we'll get you a quote. And so that was kind of annoying, but that's just the way that this dealer was. I don't know if that's standard in the manufactured industry, but it was definitely that way with our dealer. And so, oh, and also the stairs also came with it too, which I'll get into those in a minute. But that's where we came from. And so the cost to build a stick-built house, regular house, slab on grade, was going to be about $400,000 versus about $200,000. We actually had looked in, I think it was around 2000 on the other side of the state when we lived in Greenville. We were looking at a double wide at that time, and the cost for the double wide with the lot and everything was going to be about, I think about $110,000. But then we found a stick-built house that was going to be about $130,000, or it was about $135 or something. So the cost difference was not that much. And so with the cost difference not being that much, it's like, well, why don't we just buy a regular house instead of manufactured? So that's what we did. And so, but this time it was like half the cost. And so we couldn't refuse that. So I got a little cheat sheet here, so I don't hopefully ramble on too much. The first thing I wanted to talk about is, and this is true in a regular house or manufactured house, you have the siding here, and I just saw that there's a hole right there where probably a rock got into the mower and flung and hit the wall. And so it broke the vinyl, so I got to put a cover on it. So what we did is, this was another one here, is we just bought a patch at like Home Depot or Lowe's, and we just patched it right up. The bad thing is it looks like this, but at least it covers the hole up. I'm sure if you get creative, you can make it look better than that. I really don't care, so nobody really sees this, so I really don't care. Now, the house itself needs to get pressure washed. This is the north side, so this is the worst. It's just, we're busy, and it's on the list. I just hadn't done it yet. But this is what 3 years of the house without pressure washing looks like. Hopefully I can pressure wash it by the fall, so I can actually start looking nice. So now on that note, while we're talking about holes, the skirt board here, you see these little holes here? That is primarily from my string trimmer. I don't intentionally do it, but sometimes the string trimmer has a mind of its own, and then it goes in and then it breaks the skirt. If you have an option for, like, obviously a brick foundation or something, there was an option to do a brick foundation for this house, but it was going to cost $15,000 more, and we just decided not to do it. But any of the vinyl base like that is susceptible to having holes in it like that. So you just have to be careful. And so the house did not have gutters on it. I can't remember if that was an option that we could do or not, but we just hired a local roofing contractor about 6 or 8 months after after we moved in, and we put gutters on. Horry County has a lot of rain. We get between 50 and 60 inches of rain a year, and so it was just wreaking havoc on the outside without the gutters, so we just put the gutters on, and that was good. The cost of the gutters, which is what you see here, plus the entire backside, which we'll get to in a minute, was about $1,500 if I remember right, and that was done in 2023. And the windows and doors, we elected to not get the fake shutters. There was an option, at least at that time, that on the front of the house you could have this nice wide trim here, which is about 4 inches wide, or you could have the fake shutters. We've had the fake shutters before, and one, I don't think they look that good, and two, they have a tendency to break fairly easily around here, so we decided not to do that, and so we got the wide trim on the front. Now, if you look at the side here, that's what the windows and door trim normally looks like on the other 3 sides. So it doesn't have that wide trim. That wide trim is only on the front. And okay, Andrea wanted me to say that I'm calling these the standard manufactured home landing and stairs. These are, if we did not have these storm doors, these would be perfectly fine. But if you open up the storm door, see if I can get it. Let me try to zoom out. Okay. If you see, that's how much of the room the swing of the storm door takes. And so it's very cozy to try to get in and out of the landing, especially when you're have stuff in your hands, like groceries or whatever. And so Andrea wanted me to say that without the storm door, with the door swinging in, it would be perfectly fine. But we have storm doors on the front and the side, and it gets a little cozy. On the list is actually to replace these two with something a little bit bigger, but we just hadn't gotten around to it yet. And let me go in and I'll show you the back stair. Okay, here's the back of the house. There's 2 exhaust vents. So the 2 big round things up there on the roof are the exhaust vents. They're not powered, and they're not, there's no fans or anything on them. And so the air to the attic comes in through the eave right there, because that's a vented eave, just like you would have in a house. But since manufactured houses, since this is put together in 2 pieces, there's no ridge vent, so that's why that they have those 2 round vents up there. One thing I want to do at some point is put a solar power fan up there to try to exhaust heat out, because we have a temperature gauge up in the attic, and in the summertime here that attic can get to 150 degrees. And so I was hoping if I have a solar power fan up there, it won't get so hot. The good thing is the attic on the manufactured home is very small, so even though it gets very hot, there's not a lot of volume up there. And so here is the stair that we have at the back. The reason we have the larger one is because we have a sliding door right here. And the sliding door was actually replaced during the warranty period because the lock was broke. And they could have just replaced the lock, but instead they replaced the whole door. And so I'll get into the warranty stuff in a second. The other thing I wanted to mention while I was back here is here's the dryer vent right there, and the dryer is literally on the other side of that vent. So a lot of times in a house, your washer and dryer will be in the center of the house, and then the vent snakes around all over the place to get to the outside. One good thing is, and it's like this with most of the models that we saw, is the dryer is on an outside wall. So you have a very short distance from the dryer to the outside, where it's not snaking around a bunch of ducts. Now, let's see here. Let me see if there's anything else. That's the bedroom windows right there. That's the kitchen window. Now this is the south side here, so there's no real mold or algae or whatever's growing on the north side. You don't have that on the south side. And let me show you the other side real quick. Okay, here's the other side. This is the side where the master suite is on. So the bathroom's in the back and the bedroom is in the front. This is what they call a shear wall. That's why there's no windows on this side, is for the structural component of the house. That's why there's no windows. I'm sure if you wanted to have a window in there, either they could figure it out in the factory, or you could have a structural engineer figure it out after the fact. If you have the structural engineer figure it out, that probably won't be cheap. But I just wanted to show what that side looked like, so that was the fourth side. Just wanted to show real quick that since we're out in the country, we can do things like this, which is have a big chicken coop. So that was built the first year that we were here. The green shed back there was also built the first year that we were here. And so the fence was actually built the first year we were here because our dog kept wanting to escape. And so that was some of the reasons why we came out here. So while I was over here, I just wanted to show this real quick. All right, I almost forgot the most important thing about the outside here. The house came with 2 spigots, 2 hose bibs, but they're on the back. But we wanted to have one on the front, so we said, can we have one on the front? And they said yes. So instead of a regular spigot, this is what they put on the front. And let me show you what the maximum, that is the maximum that this thing does. So it literally just has the water come out very, very slowly. And if you actually tried to hook a hose or something on it, it wouldn't work. We put like a 12-foot hose on that, and it barely just spits out. And so if you want to have another hose on your house in the front, I would recommend not doing it, because this thing is not good. So we don't know if there's a blockage or something or what happened, but that has like virtually no pressure at all. So I wanted to mention that real quick. because that's probably one of the most disappointing things that we've had on the house has been this hose bib. Okay, we are inside the house now. I have my dog Sherlock right there. He always likes to greet me. And before we get into some of the things, as far as the warranty goes, there's a 1-year warranty from the date that I think you move in. Some things are done by the dealer, some things are done by the manufacturer. So as we go through the house, I'll tell you what was done by the dealer and what was done by the manufacturer. Any dealer related items were typically done fairly quickly. Probably a few days to a week. Any manufacturer things that had to be done were months. And I'll get into that as we show examples. They did come out and fix everything within that 1-year time. And if we put the request in and it was still before the 1 year, then they still, obviously if it's after the 1 year, when they finally came out, they still did it. So it's not like all they had to do was just wait us out. It was 1 year from when we put the request in. We did not put too many requests in, but we did have some. So in the laundry room here, this shelf that's up here the manufacturer replaced a shelf on another house. And when they came to replace one of our shelves, they wanted to know if we wanted this. And we said yes, because I was always wanting to put a shelf up here. So this shelf was actually the same finish as ours, but they just gave it to us because I think by law or something they can't reuse it, so they have to throw it out. So they would just rather give it to somebody, and then rather than them just throw it out. So this was something they had to replace. There was a nick or a cut or something in this on the top here, which is why it got replaced from the other house. And so we ended up with it and we made a shelf out of it. We elected to add a refrigerator outlet here because at some point we knew we were going to have either refrigerator or freezer. And over here, let me turn the light on. This is the washer and dryer area. This is what we call cozy. It works, but only one person can be in here at a time, and as you can see, there's not a whole lot of room in here. Now, the Jefferson model that we have is the standard one, which is 28 feet wide. They also have a version that they could do 32 feet wide, and sometimes I wish we would have got that, but you know, we have what we have, and so I'm happy with it. But we just have a standard front load washer and dryer here. The good thing is the dryer connection and washer connections are actually on the correct side, with the dryer on the right and the washer on the left. The reason for that is our washer door cannot change sides. The dryer door can change sides, but the washer door cannot. So that's just a little bugaboo of mine about having to make sure the washer connections are on the left side. And so all of the doors in the house are 2'6" wide doors, which would be a 30-inch door. And so a lot of bathroom doors in regular houses are 24-inch wide. And so these are all 30. So coming into the secondary bathroom here, we added an option to put the little transom window in here. And we would always highly recommend that because I don't have a light on in here and there's plenty of light. We kind of used the tub for cleaning out our chicken stuff, so forgive the mess. There wasn't a whole lot in here, although let me see how much stuff is underneath. Alright, I hope this is going to show, because it's not letting me use the flash on the camera for some reason. But here is the waste pipe that's going down. There is a cover that goes on top of this, and to keep mice from coming in. And there should be another cover on the actual floor itself, because this is at the top of this is at the bottom of the cabinet, which is about 4 inches higher than the floor. So I'm showing this because after we moved in, we had a pretty decent mouse problem, and mice kept coming up those pipes, and the pipe on the floor level down at the floor, which you can't really see, that was just open. There was nothing keeping mice out. And so the mice would come up and get in there and then get into the house. The cat loved it, but everybody else did not. And so we finally had to use a combination of things in order to keep the mice out. One was we put steel wool around the bottom, and then you can buy little cans of spray foam at like Home Depot or Lowe's, and you can spray around the entire area. And so we did that, and then we have a contract with an exterminator. Mice are included, rats are not included. And so these were little field mice because we're out in the country. And so he was able to throw a bunch of bait traps underneath the house. And so a combination of all that was able to keep the mice from coming in the house. And so I wanted to show that because what's supposed to happen is something like this. You see where that line goes down, and it has that cover right there. That cover is there primarily to keep mice out. But that cover at the cabinets is not at the floor level. So that's how the mice were coming in. And so we contacted the manufacturer about it. This was during the warranty period, and they said that they did everything right and they weren't going to change it. And so on the inside, that was probably the thing that got us the most upset. But it was a problem that was solved. We solved that within a few months after moving in, and we haven't had mice problems since. So it's something that was very annoying, but at the end of the day, we were able to fix it. And so this is my wife's office right here, which also dubs as our second bedroom. And I'm trying to think if there's anything specific in here that needed attention. There's cracks, which I'll get to the cracks in a minute, but I think the cracks in my office are more visible, so I'll talk about it there. And so let's go into my office. With my office here, a friend of ours saw my desk, my computer desk, right in the middle of the office, and said it looked like I lived in a dorm because I have a little thing that takes up the entire office. But I'm the only one that's hardly ever in here, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, there we go. I don't know if that actually helped or not. So let me try turning another light on. Okay, here is a nice crack. This crack is at the window side. There's also another crack over here. These cracks are because of the settling of the house, and typically when they do the drywall, they'll have a piece here and they'll have a piece here, and then this is the seam in between them. So if you have something that's going to crack and it cracks like this, it's cracking at those seams. So it's extremely annoying, and all the way up until about 18 months after we lived in the house, we would keep patching them and they would keep popping back up. So I just finally said forget it, and they just are what they are. As far as cracks are concerned, these vertical cracks are annoying, but they're not a problem. But if you have cracks that if the crack started and like went at a weird angle or went horizontal or did something other than just going vertical like this, that's more an indication of a structural problem in the house. And this is an indication of the house settling. Now, in different states have different requirements and different areas have different requirements. Our house is not sitting on a concrete slab. Our house is just sitting, they have like a little spread footing thing that they put on top of the ground, which is like metal or hard plastic or something like that. And then they put the CMU blocks directly on top of that. So we do not have a concrete slab situation here. I know in Kansas, because my mother used to live in Kansas, and they require concrete to be under where the wheels are or the foundation, but that's it. And so different states have different requirements. We don't have any type of requirement. We have sandy soil here, which is very good for compression. Compression is the force that goes down. And so all of these cracks that we have, and as I see them, I'll point them out, and virtually all of them are on the outside walls. There's no cracks anywhere else. And so I think that's about it in my office. These ceiling fans, we bought these ceiling fans. They did not come with the house, but we wanted the house to make sure it was prepped for a ceiling fan, because in order to have a ceiling fan in a house, it has to be braced up in the trusses because it vibrates. And so I think that comes standard, at least on the Buccaneers. So just that's one thing to make sure, that if you think you're going to have a ceiling fan, then go ahead and say, I want it braced for a ceiling fan, because to try to do that after the fact would be a nightmare. There's our younger dog. That's Lady Jane Watson. And so the attic scuttle is right there. And then I have a temperature sensor about 2 feet above it in the attic, so I can monitor the temperature. Now here's the inside of the sliding door here. Like I said, they replaced the entire sliding door here because the lock didn't work. And as you can tell, it happened after the 1 year, but the lock on that door busted too. But we have, see if I can show it. We have a piece of wood. There it is. It's a T-piece that we put over there to physically block the door, so if someone tried to open it, they can't. In case you're curious, this is our fodder system for the chickens right here. That is wheat, and so that's the different days it is for wheat. So in the morning when I feed them their breakfast, I'll take that out. That's about 9 or 10 days germination for wheat. And then there's all my wheat storage and stuff for the chickens. You know, like with every house, this house doesn't have enough storage in it, but you know, that's neither here nor there. We have the nice thermostat here. This thing is pretty good. It's fairly easy to program. We have it set to a daytime and a nighttime, and so pretty much daytime temperature is 2 degrees warmer than the nighttime temperature. And then we have it set to auto, so we have a separate heat cycle and a separate AC cycle. So that took, you know, maybe 20 minutes to figure out and program, so it's not that complicated. And I think that's similar to a bunch of them that are around. Now, what I wanted to show you here, the main thing in the dining room, is we had a little scratch on the floor before we moved in. So it was something between them manufacturing the house and when we first walked into a house. It was a little pinprick hole that was literally the size of if you put a pin down on a piece of paper and just tapped it down. That's how small it was. And so we said that needs to get fixed. And so they said, okay, we're going to fix it. So this is the solution that they had when they fixed it. It was, so I got my fingers here. You can see how big this piece is. And so they literally cut a big piece out of the floor. They found another piece and then they just glued it down. And that's what they ended up doing. All right, Andre is correcting me. She said the hole was about the size of a quarter, so I just stuck a quarter down. And so that was the solution they came up with. And so if you want them to fix stuff, they will do it, but there might be consequences to it. So we're not exactly happy with this solution, but it is what it is. Again, it's more of an annoying thing. It's not like a deal breaker thing. Okay, on to the kitchen. Kitchen had a few things. There was a nick or something on the bar top here. And so they came out and they replaced the entire bar top. And then they asked us if they wanted the old bar top, because again, they would have to throw it out. And I said yes, so that's sitting in the shed right now, so I'll use it someday for something. But, and then the same thing on this small piece right here. There was a nick or a scratch or something on that small piece, so they replaced it. And then the other thing was, the way the Jefferson model was at the time we bought it was not this island configuration. It was basically a built-in tabletop, but at bar height. And so there were no shelves, and it was completely open on all sides. And the reason I almost didn't get the Jefferson because of this, because I hated that top. And I was going to tell them to not install it because I was going to rip it out and put something else in. And they said, well, we can do something else. So I said, okay. So there was another house that had an island that was like this. And I said, can you just put that island in this house? And they said yes, and that's what they did. And so that's how we ended up with this island. We have our nice little electrical thing on the side. So if I wanted, a lot of times I use that when we use the rice cooker. We have our two doors, and then we have our drawers in the center, which I'll get back to in a minute. And so I am extremely happy with this. This is the modern version of a bar where the bar height is the same as the counter height. And so that is good. Now, obviously, we don't use the bar for the purposes because that's where the dog's food and water is. But, you know, hey, it's out of the way. And so I'm extremely happy with this. So you can be able to customize stuff with the houses. You just have to let them know. Now, we were supposed to end up over here with a bunch of drawers, because one thing about these cabinets is that there's virtually no drawers. So there's 3 drawers over there, there's 3 drawers right there, and that's it. Everything else is a door. There's a lot of cabinet space, but there's hardly any drawers. And so when they were here fixing the top, I commented to them, it's like, hey, you know, in the future, you need to design some more drawers. And they said, and they looked over to the side over here, and they said, there were supposed to be drawers over here. And they said, did you order it like that? And we said, no, we ordered just the standard. And they said,
we're supposed to get a pantry over there.
Okay. Andrea said we were supposed to get a pantry over here. And so they said, would you like us to put drawers in the center here? And we said yes. Because they didn't want to really rip out that entire pantry area, and we didn't want them to rip it out because it would be a nightmare and it wouldn't look right. But they said they could pop, because originally the center one was just like these sides here. I mean, that one's kind of full, but you just see it's a big opening and there is a shelf in the back there. And so they came back and they installed these 2 drawers in the center here. And so we have our pots and pans in the drawers, but you can see it's just 2 big nice drawers that we can put stuff in. So we were happy about that. And trying to think anything else. Now, pretty much everything I've said was done by the manufacturer. And the average time from when we would put a warranty request form in to the time they actually came out was probably about 3 or 4 months. Now, if you were buying a track house from like one of the big track developers, they're also extremely slow too. You know, they're very quick to get you to sale, but once they have the sale, they kind of slow down a lot. I can't show it because I would have to pull the refrigerator out, but the water connection that goes to the refrigerator is on the ground, and for whatever reason they had it aiming this way, and so that refrigerator is already out a pretty decent bit. Well, it had to be out probably another 4 inches past that, because the way the hose connection was going this way. So we asked them, could we do it this way so then we could push the refrigerator back? They said yes. And so the plumbers had to come out for something anyway, and we just had them do that while they were here. And this was something that was done by the dealer. Anything like plumbing related, electrical type related, that type of thing was done by the dealer, not by the manufacturer. So that was something we would talk with the dealer. They would make sure that it was a warranty related item, and then they would schedule them and come out, and usually it would be out in about a week. And so they were normally pretty good about that. We didn't have any emergencies, but they, you know, like the air quit running or we had a burst pipe or something, I'm sure they would come out before that. But anything that we did on the local was pretty good. And so you have the living room area here, other than some cracks up at the top, which you can see a small one right there. Other than that, that's pretty much it for the living room. But before we go in the master bedroom, I wanted to say these doors came standard. Andrea didn't want the regular 6-panel door, so this was another option. And so we liked it. But what we did not like was this. There's these little louver things at the bottom. And we found out after the fact that that is an option. You didn't have to get those. I would personally recommend not getting those because, one, they get dirty all the time, and two, they if you're trying to go to bed in here and lights are on the other side, that light just streams in and it's extremely bright in here. So that's more of a personal preference, but I personally did not like it. So you could always ask the dealer if there is an option about that. Now, looking in the bedroom itself, the closet, let me go in the closet. There's a change we had them make in the closet and the bathroom. All right. The water heater is back behind there, and the wall that is right here, which is facing, which has the closet on one side and the master bath on the other side, that wall is actually, I think, 8 inches towards this way. So the closet is normally about 8 inches wider than this is shown. And the reason for that is this shower is bigger than the standard size shower that comes in the Jefferson. I think the standard size in the Jefferson was a 3x4. Don't quote me. But this is 3.5 by 5. Because I wanted to have a big shower. And Andrea insisted on having the big garden tub, which, as you can see here, is obviously being used as a garden tub. And so we have our grow lights with some of the things that we're going to be starting in here that we're going to move out to the garden here pretty quick. That's what the grow lights are for. So Andrea insisted on that tub. I wanted my big shower, and this was a compromise. So the tub and the shower got enlarged, and then the toilet in the Jefferson is normally on this wall here, and it faces this way. But because this was a foot bigger, they had to move the toilet and put it right there, which personally I think is a lot better location for it. But that's just personal preference. But I wanted to show here mainly because, see if I can get in here. All right, this is the tile grout here. So this is the same tile grout that is in between the tile. There's an actual tube grout that you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's. And so the original tile was cracking, so we did this within a few months after we moved in. And then it started cracking, and so we just got exterior sealant, and we just put the sealant in here. And so the gray color is pretty good. And so you can barely see it. And so we have it down the sides here. We have it down at the bottom. We have it over here. And we have it going up the walls there to a certain degree. And so I wanted to show that we were having constant problems with the cracking. And so we just ended up putting regular sealant in there that was exterior grade sealant instead of constantly putting the grout crack in there, which matched this. Now, some people might find that hideous, but it doesn't leak and you really can't see it. So I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, because at the end of the day, not a whole lot of people see the shower anyway. The other thing I wanted to mention is this actually this was the standard height this comes in. And if you're an average sized person or a short person, this doesn't matter. But to somebody tall, like I'm 6'3", having a shower head that's actually a decent height is actually massively important to me, because otherwise it feels like I have to bend over in order to take a shower. So I just wanted to say that that was standard. And so if you look here, there's another little crack right there. So like I said, they're on a lot of these outside windows, but they're all just straight vertical. So they're annoying. They're not detrimental to the structure of the house. These mirrors came standard. And so, I mean, they're not the best thing in the world, but I mean, honestly, they don't look that bad. But again, that's personal preference. And so I think that's about it as far as the bathroom is concerned. So I wanted to talk about a couple of other things. Okay, I checked my list and there was one other thing that I forgot. This bottom part of the window was not, we couldn't open it, and there was something wrong with the window track. And so they came out, and best case scenario, they were going to just replace this bottom piece, which you can just pop it this way and then pop the thing out and then just put the new one in. Or worst case scenario, they were going to have to replace the entire window. They did not want to replace the entire window, and we did not want them to replace the entire window unless they had to. And so the guy came out and said, yeah, there was a track problem within the window itself. Took the old one out, popped this one in, and it's been working fine ever since. Because of where we are in the manufactured home code, there are 3 levels for hurricane protection. And so if you live in a regular part of the country, it's a 1. And so then that's probably, I would say, 80 to 90% of the country. And then we're actually in zone 2, which means we have a higher level for hurricane protection. And then zone 3, the only parts in the country that are zone 3 would be like the south part of Florida and like the Outer Banks in North Carolina, that type of thing. Not too many areas are zone 3. Now in the regular building code, the houses are designed to 130 miles an hour with all the strapping and all that. So this is an equivalent to that. But manufactured houses are built by the HUD code, and regular houses are built by the International Residential Code of whichever version is adopted by your state. So in South Carolina, it's the 2021 version currently of the residential code. And so then the other thing I wanted to talk about was energy efficiency. And the windows are, in South Carolina, you have to have double pane windows for new windows, and you need to have, most windows now have what they call low E film on them, which makes them a lot more energy efficient. And so that's what these windows are. And then these two windows here, we did not add any film to ourselves. But the door here and all the windows on the south side, we added window film that you could get at Lowe's or Home Depot. And we added that ourselves. And the windows are pretty energy efficient on their own, but adding the window film does help a lot. And it was actually so bad. This is the side door into the laundry room, and this is on the west side. And so obviously in the morning it's not a problem, but in the afternoon, it would, before we added the first level of tinting, it was baking in here. It was extremely hot, and having the dark color door did not help. And so we added the first level of tinting right after we moved in, and it worked pretty well, but it would still get really hot in here. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we added a second level of tinting on top of the first level of tinting, and it has helped this out immensely. Now, the storm door is not a double pane, and there's no low E film or anything on it. So it's just regular glass. But at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, with the sun beating down on this side, I can open this up, and it's still warm, but it's not like 120, 130 degrees type warm. So the window film does help significantly with the heat coming in. And it also helps if you're in more northern climate with the heat going out in the wintertime. And while I was here, the film, this was film we added onto the door because we still wanted the light to come in, but we did not want, people to just see us. So we just, again, this was film you could get at Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's just a frosted glass. So that door and the front door both have that. But as far as the insulation goes, without getting in too much detail, Andre and I are both in architecture, so we kind of know this a little bit. But because every house that we do or every commercial building we do, we have to do what we call a res check or a com check, which is to make sure that the energy efficiency of the building meets the minimums by the code. Now, South Carolina still goes into the 2009 code for energy efficiency, but different states will adopt different versions of it. So it just depends on what version it is. Now, the HUD code has something similar for manufactured housing, but I ran the insulation values for what's on our house and put it into the building code like it was a regular stick-built house to see which one was more energy efficient or non-energy efficient. And actually, mainly it's because South Carolina uses an older energy efficiency code for houses. The manufactured home was actually a little bit more energy efficient than what we would put on a house. And so it was pretty much about equal. You're talking about one was like 20% above and the other one was like 22% above or something. So it wasn't like a big massive difference, but it was a small difference. And so we've been very, how should I say that, impressed by the electrical requirements and everything for the house. The biggest bill I think we've had on the house has been about $140. That was actually this winter when we actually had, I call it a mini blizzard. We had 6 inches of snow on the ground, and it lasted for several days. Normally, we don't get snow at all, or if we do, it's there and then it's gone in like 3 or 4 hours. So to have snow on the ground for several days is very unusual for us. But about $140 is the maximum we've had electric bill wise. The average is about $100 a month for us. And let me swing around. The air handler, which is right here, that obviously the manufacturer puts in, and then the dealer, their construction people connect it to the compressor and then connect it to the electrical connections, and then make sure that the drain pans and all that stuff go out the way it's supposed to. The way this is designed, there's big charts in the HUD code. So for where you are on how big it needs to be. And then outside here, let me go out real quick. The compressor right there, that compressor is actually provided by the dealer, at least in our case. And so again, there's charts in the HUD code that says if you have such and such house, it's in such and such area, you have to provide a certain compressor. So that's the compressor that was provided. And even on the hottest days, it can get 100 degrees plus. Humidity can be very, very high, and this compressor will still cycle, which means it'll run and then it'll shut off for a little bit and then it'll turn on like it would normally. The house that we had in Merle's Inlet, once it would get above a certain temperature, it would just run constantly. And so on the really, really hot days, it would turn on about, I'd say about 3 o'clock, and it would not shut off until about 11 o'clock. And we replaced that in 2019 or 2018, one of the two, with a lot more efficient system, and paid a lot of money for it. And it was a lot better, but it would still constantly run on the really hot days, to where this one does not. And so as far as the energy efficiency is concerned, I am pretty impressed with it. And while I'm looking at the cabinets here, I forgot one thing. All right. Okay, that stopped for some reason, so I'm gonna act like nothing ever happened. So I'm gonna go through this whole thing again. I had to put curtains on here, and so I needed to step into that area in order to install the curtains. When I stepped on the tub itself, it was fine, but I went to step on the counterpart over here where these candlesticks are, and I almost fell through the top. So this is not designed for human weight. And it was the same thing on this side. So Andrea wanted me to make sure everybody knew that just be careful before you start randomly stepping on stuff. And one of these days, I am going to pop this right panel open to see if I can put storage behind it. And so Andrea's afraid I'm going to break something, but I think we need to try it at some point and see what happens. So she's probably not going to like that when she sees this, but that'll be a future problem. And so anyway, Oh, hopefully yes, it's recording this time. And so just wanted to do that. But I think that's about it. Like I said, there's a few weirdness things about it, but overall, we're pretty happy with the house. You know, like I said, we wish we had more storage, but we knew what it was before we got into it, that we weren't going to have a lot of storage. You know, there's no garage or anything. And so overall, I'm pretty happy about it. The only main thing I would do different, other than seeing how much more the 32-foot wide one is versus the 28-foot wide one was, because Andrea reminded me we did ask for the cost difference between the two, but they never got back to us. And so the budget I had in my mind was being exceeded by the 28-foot wide, so I didn't. I should have pressed it more, because if it was like $20,000 more, you know, we probably would have done it. So we would make sure to see about the 32-foot wide. Also, if the direction of the house, if you wanted the laundry room and the door to be the other direction, they can mirror or flip the entire house. So they said that too. So the entire house could be flipped, which would mean that the master bedroom would be on the right and the laundry room would be on the left. And our cat is wanting treats right now. That's why he's over there. But the other big thing is we have all vinyl floor in here, all hardwood floor or hard surface floor. And I don't like that. It's too hard to clean, but that's a personal preference of mine. I would like to have a mix of carpet and not carpet, but to each his own. Maybe someday we'll figure out an efficient way how to clean this, but it's not today. But I do like the fact of having the floor here, because if one of the animals decide to get sick or something, cleaning it on hardwood floor or on a hard surface is a lot easier than cleaning it on carpet. So there is that. But now, one side note, we have the same floor over the entire house, but when they build this thing, they put that floor down first. So it's not like at a regular house where if they put vinyl floor down, it's one of the last things to go down. It's one of the first things to go down. And so all the walls and everything are put up after that floor is done. So you don't have little pieces all over the place. You only have where the connector part is between the two houses, which is right there. Which honestly, I mean, you can see it's there, but it's not that bad. You don't really notice it. So I always thought it would be a lot more noticeable and it would annoy me a lot more, but it really doesn't. So I think that's about it. So hopefully this has been a little informative. If anybody has a question or anything, you can just make a comment, because I'm sure I missed something. But I wanted to do an update video to say we've been in the house almost 3 years now, and except for some small stuff, we're pretty happy with the house. And it's something, if given a similar situation, I would do again. Of course, if a stick-built house was not twice as much as a manufactured house, I would probably go with the stick-built house, but that's just the way it was, at least at that time. So, hope this was informative, and if you have anything, you just leave a comment and let me know.